ourselves into space so we can start having a conversation.
Launch ourselves into freedom.
So we're live. I'm gonna send the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Space.
Hello, everybody. Hello, viewers watching from Nigeria, Cameroon, USA, Maryland, where Brian is, Uganda, Kenya, Sierra Leone, China, Dubai, Italy, Germany. Brian, if I've left anywhere of our viewers have identified, you can mention. Just Mali too.
Yes, Sierra Leone, Cameroon.
That's I mentioned Sierra Leone. So you are all welcome. Right with us on the fireside today is Ismail Omipidan. He's a media guru, a media expert.
I send the link.
Okay, you send the link?
Yeah.
He's the chief press secretary to the governor of Osun State. Osun has a lot of Yoruba history. Oh, wow. And I'm not sure between Osun. Yes, Brian. I know you love Yoruba mythology.
Yes, I do.
Yes. I don't know between Osun and Oyo State. I don't know which is the original Odudua, but today I'm sure we'll get to know some of that, a lot of that. Yes. So we have the link now. I will send you the link so you can copy it and paste it on your social graphs, your Facebook or any, so that people can follow.
We already tweeted.
Yes.
Okay, let me drop back the jingle.
The Osun State has a lot of Yoruba history, a lot of
okay.
Yes, a lot of Yoruba history, the mythologies, most of those things they are there, and I think they have a museum. I don't want to let the cat out of the dog. Our guy is here; he's going to tell us very much.
Okay,
I think I've seen some sculptures on Facebook, very interesting Asian sculptures.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
And they have a very interesting Oba, right? Very young man who is doing a lot of things. I once saw him he stood up on his seat and allowed the Christian pastor, the general overseer of Redeemed Church, to take his seat. I've never seen that before.
Mashallah.
He stood up and told the pastor, "Come and sit on my seat."
Mashallah.
That was very humbling. Yes.
Yeah, we have two people. Thanks. Shout out to you. Please feel free to drop your name and where you are, so we could do shout outs.
And I know Loretta should be there now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
More live program. I join it.
Yes, okay. I think you have shared, right?
Yeah, he shared. Okay.
Good.
I haven't seen the link.
Oh,
I sent you the link on WhatsApp.
Okay, I've seen it now.
Yes. So we can have more.
Yeah, we can just warm up.
Joining.
When a couple of people join, then so please feel free to drop your name. Please share as much as you can. And today we're hosting Brother Ismail Omipidan, and he's the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Osun State. So we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, and just to add, Ismail was also the media advisor to the Deputy Senate President, the past Deputy Senate President. He was also in Maiduguri. I think he studied in Maiduguri.
Yeah, I studied in Maiduguri. I worked in Maiduguri.
He worked in Maiduguri during the early days of Boko Haram.
Oh,
He moved to Kaduna.
In fact, the story of Boko Haram started in our province.
Oh, I see. Wow, we have a lot to talk about. Shout out to Adigun Yetunde from Osun State.
Oh,
thanks for watching. Please feel free to ask questions. We try to democratize the whole process of like streaming something online. So while we are having these conversations by the fireside, you could assume it could be at the center of your village. Feel free to ask. Just type if you have a comment anytime, or you have some thought, a question to maybe the host or any of us. Please feel free to drop it, and we'll be glad to answer.
Yes. I mean, viewers who are joining us for the first time in Osun State, Brian has said it, but let me recap it again. This is like the typical days of when our forefathers were here. You know, in the evening, they will cook food in the night. Let's say maybe it is amala and ewedu soup, you know, and goat meat by the side. You know, in the evening when they cook it like that, the whole family will just gather by the fireside, and the fire will be burning, and they will be eating. And that's the time that they tell all these folklore stories that we came to learn from Wale Soyinka, you know, this man from the east. You know, so this is what we're trying. This is what we are doing here. This is a fireside. We are basically chatting, and we believe that when people are just chatting leisurely, that is when quality, factual informations are passed. You know, Oga Ismail here is a journalist. I'm a journalist. Somebody will see them and say, today is interview. It's not interview. We are gisting with my Oga today. So Oga, I will say welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Good. We like to know you, sir. We like to understand your story. You know, if you can cast your mind back to when you were 2 years old, when you became 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you know, and just take us through that journey. What is the making? How did Ismail Omipidan became who? The astute journalist and the chief press secretary of Osun State today.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, viewers out there from the US, Germany, Mali, and Kenya, and wherever you are listening to us this evening. Ismail Omipidan is my name, a Yoruba man by tribe, and a Doma man by association. I was born in Topoh in Benue State in the year 1975, precisely April 3rd. As a young man growing up then in Topoh, even though I was born into a Muslim family, a Muslim, I remember growing up that I normally participate actively in Xmas celebration, where we go about with our masquerades. As a matter of fact, I was one of those who were always putting on the masquerade regalia in Otukpo in those days. We have a family friend in Lawyer Omaku, late Lawyer Omaku. Lawyer Omaku was among those who drafted the 1979 Constitution. Lawyer Omaku is from a village called Imogidi. Imogidi, it's about an hour's drive from Otukpo. So usually during Xmas, we go to the village there to enjoy, you know, the village life there. I had my primary education in Otukpo, precisely Army Children's School. Funny enough, in the primary school in those days, I was very, very naughty. Naughty to the extent that I remember when I was in primary 2, 3, we'll go to the river to swim. And most times, each time I go to the river, I normally leave behind my books and sometimes even my footwear. I remember from primary 1 up to primary 5, even up to primary 6, I was always coming between first, second, and third. But surprisingly, even up to primary 6, I had not started reading. So one evening, we were at home. My elder sister asked me to read a passage in one of the primary 6 readers we were using then. And I couldn't read anything from the textbook. And she was like, come, how have you been coming first, second in the class?
I was wondering that too. I was wondering.
And you
Masquerade.
cannot read. They write the option. I just write it down.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that she was very close to my class teacher.
Yeah.
So she got in touch with my class teacher, and they gang up to punish me that day because I like playing. So when I got to the school the next day, the teacher said they opened a passage in the reader and said, if you don't read it, you will not go out for break.
Jesus
So
Christ.
we had 4 rows in the class. So all of us were asked to stand. Once you read your own very well, you go out and play. I was in the middle row. So once it got to my turn, surprisingly, because I was good at cramming then, so surprisingly, I read the passage. The teacher said again, I read it. She said again, I read it. I was the only one who read it 3 times. So once I read it, the teacher now asked everybody to go out. I was like, oh, could it be that it was because of me this exercise was carried out? And that was first term primary 6. So that was the day I started learning how to read primary 6.
Oh wow.
Primary 6. That was when I started learning how to read.
Wow.
And I was to write my common entrance about 6 months or thereabout later. It was when I got to the exam hall, I realized that my case was even better because in the exam hall, unlike the class where somebody will read the question for you, in the exam hall, while we're writing the common entrance, there was nobody to read your question for you. So
Jesus.
I was doing my things,
Yeah.
So I realized that about 7 of those were in the class where I was writing my common entrance,
Yeah.
couldn't write anything. So I now asked one of them, what is the problem? She said she doesn't know that she couldn't read what was written. I asked the second person the same thing. I said, God, I thank you. If what happened had not happened 6 months earlier, that probably would have been my lot.
Yeah.
And I remember I wrote a common entrance for St. Francis. I wrote for GSS. I wrote for one school in Jos. I can't remember the name immediately now. If I recall the name, I will mention it. And I passed all the 3 exams. And I opted to go to Jos. But my father felt otherwise, that because of my nature, that he wants me to be closer to
Close to
him.
him.
He doesn't want me to go to Jos. So eventually, I settled for St. Francis College. So when St. Francis College is a Catholic school, and when I got to the school, I was fascinated by the things that was happening around the Catholic. To date, I could recite the Angelus because we do Angelus 12 in the afternoon,
Yeah.
6 in the morning, 6 in the evening. Hail Mary,
Oh.
full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are thou
Blessed are
among
thou
women.
amongst men, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Yeah, so
Bless the Lord.
I was doing it. Now, first time, somehow I was very rough. I had 3 uniforms, and before the end of the first term, the whole uniform were torn. I misplaced my footwear, and my parents said that as a punishment, they were not going to replace the footwear for me. So for like 1 month to the end of the first time, I was trekking barefoot to school. Not because my parents could not afford it, but they said I must be punished because within 3 months in the school, I had used close to 6 sandals, and I was not the only one going to school. So the fact I was I was not responsible enough, so they
Yeah,
needed to
wasting
punish.
resources.
Something that
It's a
happened,
ruffian.
something that
Ruffian.
happened. In those days, the school will announce on the assembly ground first, second, and third,
Yeah.
at least to encourage others.
Yep.
And my first time, JS1, I came third after the exams. And I remember my principal then, Benjamin Ugalai. This was in 1992. Benjamin Ugalai, on the assembly ground, when they were, once they call you, first, second, and third, you shake hands with the principal. So when it was my turn, I came with my short knicker torn and with my barefoot. So they raised me up on the assembly ground that with these feet, they believe that my parents will have mercy on me and change my uniform and buy me, a new set of sandals. And that was what actually happened, because when I got home, when my parents saw my results, they were very happy. And that was the day they bought me, even before, during the holiday, they bought me my new sandals, and school continued. I was, I learned from my parents how not to compel your child to take a particular course. I was very inclined to arts and social sciences,
Yeah.
but because I had a brother who left the school in 1989, I was in GS3 when he left the school. He left with about 8 distinctions. He was a science student. So based on that, my parents now insisted I should go and do science too. Reluctantly, I accepted to do science, but I knew that was never my calling. So at some point, I became the only science student in the secondary school that was doing literature in English.
Whoa.
Oh wow, mashallah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
to the extent that sometimes when my physics class clashes with my literature class, I forgo my physics class for my literature class.
Sure.
Mashallah.
Wow.
Yes, I forgo my physics class for my literature. So
Yeah.
eventually, when I left secondary school, I left with 3 credits, uh, and I think 3 passes, one F9 or so. Yes, one F9. And in those days, once you have 3 credits or even one, you go do pre-ND or remedials or whatever. But my parents were not willing to hear any of that. I remember very well when I got home with the results, my father said I should go back and start from SS1. It was a tug of war. He insisted I should go back and start from SS1. I told him that I could go to school with what I had. He said no, that all his children, they make their papers before they go to school.
Mashallah. Means you're the
So
disciplinarian.
back and forth,
Yeah.
I took GCE externals, thinking I'll be able to make up and proceed. In the GCE, I read on my own. I read government, I read commerce, and some other social sciences. I sat for my GCE. Again, I made 3 credits, no maths, no English.
English.
But the 3 credits were in new subjects.
Right.
To the
Okay.
extent that if you combine it with my first result, I had 6 credits, but I had no maths, I had no English.
No English. But you had literature.
I had literature. But my father would not want to listen to that. He was still insisting. So one evening, I was going home from the market. So I met one woman. She's an educationist. She's late now, may her soul rest in peace. Mrs. Ojabo. She was a pioneer matron of Loyola Jesuit College in FCT Abuja. So when I met her, she saw me and said, Ismail, you are still not in school yet? What is the problem? I told her the story. She knows my parents. She now said, "Ah, so you know, your father and your mom, they are tough. Oh. Okay, let's strike a deal. You will not spend 3 years in secondary school, but at least you must spend 1 full year in secondary school." So reluctantly, I accepted. So that evening, she came to my house to plead with my father and my mother that it's not possible for me to go and start from SS1, but that she will take it upon herself to get me back to school to start from SS3 so that I will just spend 1 year. So she took me to the principal of Eulo College in Otupo. And when the man learned I was from St. Francis, he was reluctant in admitting me because that people that set I finished from that were very stubborn. But the woman made a pledge on my behalf that I will be of good behavior. So he accepted, he gave me admission. That was how I went back to secondary school 3 years after I left secondary school. I remember my first day back in secondary school, 1995. I was beaten home by rain. I wept profusely when I got home that day because by my calculation, I wanted to get married at 25. And so by that 95, I thought I should be rounding off my first degree. But look at me again back in secondary school. I wept. So we started, but something happened. In Otupo, Ewulo College at that time was largely unknown. It was seen as an unserious school, more like a school that cannot compete with other better, well-organized schools in the town. And we normally have these secondary school debates. So I participated for that year. I represented the Ewulo College. And for the first time in the history of the school, I led the school to the finals of the debate. And we came second, beating strong schools then like St. Monica. If I recall, my younger sisters who were in St. Monica's, they said the principal on the assembly ground was asking Ewulo, how can Ewulo defeat her school? It was unheard of. It was unheard of. And I remember during our send forth, the principal told the story of how he was reluctant in admitting me, but that he is happy that he got me, that because I helped to propagate and promote the name of the school.
Yeah, eventually.
That if it were possible, that they would have even retained me and not allowed me to leave the school. Eventually, after my SSC that year, I made 8 credits. I made 4 distinctions, 3 credits, including English language, but a pass in maths. And I tell you a story of that mathematics.
Tell us.
That was
Right.
to date, I wanted to study law. That maths deprived me of studying law. So I said the maths that I could not pass while in secondary school, I can't sit down now and write it. And what happened was this. That said, they knew I was good in English. So the bright boy science students said that I will assist them during the English language. And when it's time for mathematics, they will also assist me. In the exam hall, I wrote summary and comprehension for about 6 candidates in the exam hall, to the extent that I almost forgot writing mine.
Jesus.
I almost forgot writing mine. But when it was time for mathematics, human beings can be very selfish. When it was time for mathematics, all of them just put their head on their table.
And started serving.
I would tap the first man. I said, I'm waiting. So, but at least I know a little of this pie chart, this statistics. I know those ones myself. So when time was running out, I did the ones I knew very well. So when I stood up to leave the hall the first time, one of them grabbed my trouser. I looked at him. I waited. I said, "Okay, do you want to help me? Why are you dragging my trouser?" The next day, I just went out. I said, "Look, with what I have done, I know I will have a pass.
I'm okay.
In any case, I just needed a pass. I'm okay." So I left. I left the exam hall, and that was eventually what happened. I had the pass. That was the only pass. Let my God save you pass. Let my people go. It was a
Go.
P8. You know, after P8,
Yes.
then it was P9, F9. Sorry,
Let my
after
people go.
P8, F9. So yeah, let my people go. That was what I had in my mathematics. And but to God be the glory. In spite of the fact that I had challenges, going to leaving secondary school, going to university. Uh, the high institution story too is another interesting one. When I after this, I now wanted to join the army. And the only reason why I wanted to join the army was to change the society, to go plot coup, remove leaders, and change the society.
Mashallah.
So I
I
took
see
off.
the
I took
ruffian in
off
him is
all
still
the
there.
way from Benue State. For those who know Benue State, Topoh precisely to Kaduna, it's about 7-8 hours. I didn't know anybody. My parents were reluctant in allowing me to go, but after much pressure, my mother pleaded with my dad and said, "Look, we have always assisted other people's children. I believe that my son too will meet his own helper. Let him go." So I left for Kaduna, and I was sleeping in the common room in the Polytechnic, struggling to get to NDA. The first time I got to the interview level, but I was dropped. The second time, I didn't even make the list at all. I was uh, I was number 33 or so on the list. They wanted 33 to be invited for the interview, but at the dying minute, they cut it to Z30 or so. That was how I lost that year again. Now, the third time, I was preparing and I met a very top retired military officer who was willing to assist me. But after seeing him, I remember the day I went to see him, I just walked to his house. I told his security men that I wanted to see him. And they were like, "Did anybody give me a note to see him?" I said, "No." They said, "Do I know the
So,
man from anywhere?" I said, "No." "And I want to see him." I said, "Yes, General San Usman
yes.
Katsina in Kaduna."
Mashallah.
So
Whoa.
yeah, I went in. They argued among themselves. Eventually, they said, "Look, let him in." So I went in. When I got in to see the man looked at me and said, "Have we met before?" I said, "No, sir." "Did anybody send you to me?" I said, "No, sir." "You have a note for me?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Okay, have your seat." I sat down. He said they should serve me tea. I said, "No." He said, "Okay, what can I do for you?" I told him I wanted him to help me, that I want to go to NDA. He said, "Okay, where are my parents?" I told him they are in Benue State. He said, "So who am I staying with here?" I said, "I'm not staying with anybody. Just on my own." He shook his head. Said I should go and I was going to help me. Well, the NDA was not my way. So the next thing I said, okay, if my plan was to change the society, what other course can I study that will help me influence change in the society? And that was how journalism came into the picture.
Mashallah.
And that was how I went to get the form for mass comm in card polling. That too was another tough story.
Mashallah.
Tell us.
Yeah.
In card polling, even though it's a federal institution, they have this policy of giving preference to the northern states, the 19 northern states. Now, if, for example, in MASCOM, if they are giving each of the northern states 4
Network is jealous.
Yeah, probably the, what will I say?
Or the masquerades in his village are trying to claim back their own.
Gather all 17 southern states. They call them ON, those states together and give them 3 slots. My God, states be competing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
That's quite interesting. I mean, the general he mentioned is General Hassan Usman Katsina, one of the famous military generals, from northern Nigeria.
Wow.
In Kaduna, as a matter of fact, the state house is named after him, General Hassan Usman Katsina.
Yeah. Hey, you
Can you
can.
hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
sir,
hear you.
clearly.
Go on, thank you.
Go ahead, sir. Go on.
So you can imagine when they give a slot meant for one state, and you say 17 other states should compete for slot that only one state is in the north. It's very tough. So every time I'll be going, I saw several people. Then somehow through my doggedness and
Wow, why is it?
one fellow I didn't know from anywhere who brought us together. I can't remember his name, but once I remember his name, I'll report.
Okay.
I was able to meet with Yakubu, who later became ANEC, one of the officials of the school one evening for admission into pre with 8 credits. I was looking for pre with 8 credits. So I was in that office when they brought somebody's results. The guy had F9. That please look for one department. So the guy now look at that. I want to make sure, but man did not record any credit. He said she has an account credit. I am begging for a slot for pre-ND. And somebody who had F9 from beginning to the end was going to get even admission before I got admission.
Yeah.
I was worried. Then somebody now advised me that since I speak Idoma fluently, I should claim Benue State. That if I claim Benue State, that it will be very, very, admission won't be a challenge for me. I told them I will never claim Benue State. Not that I don't love the state, but I will not disown my state.
Yeah.
I didn't know that a day will come when my state will invite me to come and serve.
Yeah, exactly.
I had this, if I had to show my state then, so I insisted I wasn't going to disown my state, that I would rather pursue the admission doggedly. So once I discovered where the rector was living, I would go to his house, plead with the security men. I would go out to work. I would see them hand over my notes to him, and they came out. Now address all those seeking admission. He invited us to his office and we line up. Once he mentioned any department, any course, once you say yes, they give you admission straight. When it got to my turn, the man gave me option of marketing. I said no. He said accounting. I said no. He said this admin. I said no. The man said, so what do you want? I said mass com. He said, ONS, your quota is filled up in mass com. I said, sir, that is what I want, sir. It's okay. Stay by the side. He attended to others. So there was one lecturer on the queue who came to seek for admission for the son. The woman answered that she would wait for her. So after the rector addressed her, the woman approached me and said that they want his son to be my friend. That people who are looking for admission and they were ready to take anything, and they gave me 3 options. I turned down all the things. I said, look, there's no point in going to school because you want to go to school. Yeah. It's good. So the day the final list was going to come out, I knew it was God that was at work because my name was written with a pencil. My name was the last. My name was the last name on the list of pencil. Yes, my name was written with a
not biro, pencil.
Others were typewritten.
Yeah,
That's to tell you that it was just God. Others were typewritten. My name. It was God. My name was written with a pencil. Now, before that list came out, I had started attending lectures because I was confident I was going to get. In fact, the first continuous assessment we wrote, the man who was teaching us introduction to economics. They said people should write their number. I was the only one who didn't write my number. I wrote my name. And I scored the highest in that test. I got 8/10. So the lecturer was like, look, who is this man? I said, I don't want your name. I want only your number. And I told him, I said, sir, I have not gotten admission. He said, He said, people who have admission are not attending classes. You have not gotten admission, you are attending classes. His name is Mr. I'm sure by now I should be a PhD holder, Mr. Anaki. I said, I'm confident I was going to get admission. He said, okay, you will hide my script for me. If I eventually get the admission, then he will enter my score for me.
Oh, wow.
And God be the glory, I eventually got my admission. And when I finished my diploma, I felt my parents have tried enough. And the day I finished my diploma, I wrote to my parents that thanking them for taking me that far. And I told them that from that day on, I wanted to be on my own because I felt that the money they had spent on me to finish the diploma was enough to get me my first degree. Isaac, you know Kaduna very well.
Yes.
In the course of my studies, I had trekked from Tudunwada to Television Garage.
Jesus Christ.
I trekked.
Was there a riot?
Straight road, no shortcut. No, there was no riot. What happened was, in those days, no GSM, landline. So my father said he was going to send money to me. They normally send money to me through drivers, motor park, in a television garage. So I had put in and I received this message that was going to send money to me. And I had the last money I had was just enough to take me back. For that day, it was just enough to take me back to Tudunwada in case I didn't, because I had gone 3 times previously and I didn't get the message. So because I had the last transport fare, I think it was 50 kobo, I can't remember, but it was the last money I had on me. So I said, let me trek so that if I don't get the message, I will enter bus to Kaswa. And it will be easy for me to trek from Kaswa to Tudunwada. So that was why I had to trek from Tudunwada to Television Garage.
Jesus Christ.
And the day I trekked was the day I got the money that I was expecting from my dad. So when I got the money, I went to the food, the buka where I used to eat. Before then, I would eat gari, no meat. So that day, I ordered for pounded yam and meat. So the waitresses there, they were conversing among themselves. They didn't know that they are Idoma. They didn't know that I also understand Idoma very well. They were not saying among themselves that maybe it's either I picked money or somebody dashed me money. Is that not that boy that normally eats gari without meat? Today he's eating pounded yam with meat. Something must have happened. So I busted and laughed. I said, look, it was my father who sent money to me. Nobody dashed me money.
That's a lot.
So I finished my diploma and I started work almost immediately in Kaduna. My first major engagement was with Weekly Trust. Weekly Trust was the first media organization that engaged me. That was where I started my journalism career. I was there I helped, through them. It was Weekly Trust that gave me opportunity to know most states in this country, because the type of stories they do will require you traveling. And I think it was in Trust that I also discovered some of my strengths, because my name is Ismail. But while I was working in Weekly Trust, Nigeria, we can be very emotional and sentimental. Weekly Trust at that time was seen as largely Hausa Muslim affair. So Christians and other Southerners would not want to do anything with the paper. So knowing that history, knowing that background, I now removed my Muslim name, which is Ismail. I started bearing Wale in Weekly Trust. I was bearing Wale Omipidan. And it is on record that even top management staff, interviews that top management staff could not get with top Christian leaders in the north, including Archbishop Jatau, Benjamin Achigli, who is late today, Zamani Lekwot, and so many top Christian and Southern Canada leaders. I got them to speak to Weekly Trust.
Oh.
I would travel all the way from Kaduna to down to South here, the late Olubadan of Ibadan, Chief Lana. I got him to speak to Weekly Trust. Abdul Latif Adegbite, I went to Abeokuta to interview him, and so many top Southern leaders too. From Weekly Trust, I joined the Comet newspapers. Now, when I joined the Comet newspapers, everybody at the Comet were either Adewale or Adetunji. So at the Comet, I revert back to Ismail. So as to give a kind of identity. So I reverted back to Ismail again. I started using, Ismail Omipidan. I was with Comet. From there, I left for Maiduguri. Now, I was challenged to do a degree in mass comm for two major reasons. One, while I was doing my internship in Lagos with The Punch, there was an opening on the features desk. And the deputy features editor had an HND, very good on the job. But because he had an HND, the management refused to make him the head of the desk. Instead, they went for a graduate who had not even worked anywhere before to make him the head of that desk. So I asked him, I said, but you are qualified to head this desk. What happened? He now told me, he said, look, since you already have a diploma in mass comm, even if it is Yoruba, make sure you do a degree. I heard that. Then again, I recall that when I was doing my internship in the Punch then, most of those who came from the universities, those of us who came from the Polytechnic were far better than them. They're doing better than them. So I was like, if I don't get a degree, most likely it's people like this that will be my bosses in the office. So I made up my mind that whatever it will take to get a degree, I will get. I started my HND in Kaduna when I got admission to do my degree program. I abandoned my HND. I remember then some of my friends, including Femi Adi, they were like, let's do this thing now after you do PGD. I said, no, I know they do. So I left, and I have no regret. I have no regret doing a degree in mass comm because it broadened my knowledge, and it also gave me opportunity, to meet new friends. It was in Maiduguri I had before then, my first baptism of fire in journalism was when OD was invaded under the Obasanjo administration, the OD massacre. I was the first journalist that visited OD, even before the Senate president then, Chuba Okadibo, had access to the place. I lied to the military officers that I was a student undergoing a program in crisis management. And so I was gathering research materials. So one of the soldiers offered to help me. An officer had linked me up with the commander there. So I found my way in. Unfortunately, the second day, I had the misfortune of allowing my ID card to fall on the ground.
Jesus. And
So
the soldier saw it.
He said, come, boy. You say you are a student, you are a journalist? They started to start frog jump. It was a tug of war. I thought I was going to die that day.
Definitely.
I was going to die. I thought I was going
they
to
will
die
mix
that
you.
day. But to God be the glory. In fact, I got to a stage I couldn't continue with the frog jump. Not because I was stubborn, but because my legs could no longer carry me. I could no longer lift the legs. Yeah. So I said, look, if you want to fire. I couldn't continue. But eventually, I was let go. I returned with a story, very interesting story. I came back. I think it was I came back on the Xmas day. My money was exhausted. The first 3 vehicles I traveled with broke down on the road. Eventually, I had to plead with those who carry cattle. I sat behind a trailer. Yeah, I sat behind a trailer loaded with sheep's cattle from Tegina to Kaduna. That was because the last vehicle broke down there and I had no money to take any other vessel and I must get to Kaduna. Maiduguri was where I had my second baptism of fire as a journalist. The Sun newspaper started in 2003, January precisely. I joined them in June. And for anybody familiar with the tabloid style of journalism, which the Sun started with, it was very interesting, and our stories can also be can make you want to blow off our head if you have who eventually declared me a persona non grata. And he was responsible for my leaving Maiduguri in 2005. But one of my best friends and a major benefactor today, I encountered him in Maiduguri. His name is Kashim Shettima. The immediate past governor of Borno State, who is now a senator representing Borno Central. You know, I had a story then, a very controversial story. He was the manager of the Zenith Bank at the time. So I had a story that I wanted to run. I gathered all my facts and I approached him for his own side of the story. And he told me clearly, Mala Ismail, this story is true. But the image of my bank is at stake. How will you help me? I said, okay.
How will you do that as a journalist?
Some persons were sacked unjustly. What do you do to them? He said, okay, I will reabsorb them. He said, is that all? I said, yes. He left. 3 days later, he called me. He said, where are you? I told him I was in my office. He came to me. He said, I want us to be friends. I was like, how? He said, before he met with me the last time, that he had profiled me through about 3 serving commissioners in the state, and all of them told him that he should not offer me money, that if he offer me money, I may get angry and go and write the story. Yeah. But I should speak to my conscience, that I will listen. And that he came, he spoke to me. I didn't ask him for anything. And I got the story. That stories that are not as are not of that magnitude, I knew, how much he would spend to, keep the story at bay. So he said they want us to be friends. That was how we became friends. Just imagine if then my salary was just 28,700. Imagine if I had asked him to give me 500,000 naira then. He would give me. Yeah. But that probably would be the end of the relationship today.
Yes.
Mashallah, yeah.
Yes.
I see. Yeah.
Till today, myself and Kashim Shetima, we are better friends. And I've also learned a lot from him. I thank God I left Maiduguri. I recall then Kashim Shetima never wanted me to leave Maiduguri. I told him I don't want to remain a local champion, that I want to go out and explore. And it was after I left Maiduguri, I came in contact with another fine leader, Alhaji Sule Lamido, the former governor of Jigawa State. It was after I left Maiduguri, I came in contact with Senator Teslim Folari, a former Senate leader. It was after I left Maiduguri, I came in contact with Omipidan, the current Minister of State for Health.
Yeah.
It was after I left Maiduguri, I came in contact with the immediate past Deputy Senate President, Ike Kwemadu. It was after I left Maiduguri, I came in contact with Senator David Mark and several other leaders who at some point
top leaders of the
active,
country.
Top leaders of the country. And I'm sure if I had not left Maiduguri at that time, I probably would not be in Osun today. Some of our colleagues, they have this, they are stereotyped about moving them up and down. When somebody is working in Abuja, for example, if you transfer him to, in fact, not even from Abuja to another state, if somebody is covering, maybe say, energy beat, and you transfer the person from energy beat to, say, FCT, the person can resign from that medium and join another medium.
Just to retain that.
Here I was, just to retain that position. But here I was National Assembly correspondent for the Sun, and I was even the chairman of the Senate Press Corps at that point. But suddenly, my paper started Spectator Weekly. Now, in our bylaw, if you write for a weekly medium, you cannot be a member of the Senate Press Corps. So when I was being moved to the Spectator, the next thing for me was to resign my appointment as the chairman of the Press Corps. I want to say this because at that stage, I learned early in life that most of the things our leaders do that turn out to be wrong are as a result of bad advice from either his friends or his lieutenants. Because some of my colleagues met me and said we should amend that clause of our constitution to allow me retain my position. And I told them, no, it's not good that I criticize people who do wrong. I should not be found doing same thing.
Wrong.
I resisted the pressure. I resigned. I remember the then chairman of NUJ, FCT, Jacob Edi, my very good friend. He looked at me in the eye and said, "You are the first person I have seen who struggled to get to power and relinquish it just like that." I said, "Well, I believe that we should always stand by whatever we agree on." And when a similar thing happened in the House of Reps, my case was used as a reference point. They told the man in the House of Reps that no, you can't hold on to this position. Look at the man in the Senate. Why don't you take a cue from him? So I set an example, and I thank God, I did that. Now I left from spectator. My paper redeployed me again back to Kaduna. I was in Kaduna. Yeah, I was in Kaduna for 7 years. But because when God wants to bless you, His ways are not our ways.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Kaduna when I built my house in Abuja. So just imagine. So I tell people, allow God to determine how you move. Don't insist that you want to move in a particular direction because you are not God. You are not God. Again, when I was transferred from Abuja to Lagos, I was tempted to resign. If you are used to Abuja, Kaduna life, you want to live in Lagos. If you have never lived in Lagos before, it's a different ballgame, But my wife now reminded me that, but I once told her that if one must reach the peak of one's career, one must practice in Lagos. That why am I reluctant in going to Lagos? That I should go. That they will support me. God will be with me. And when I got to Lagos, I told myself, I have come to Lagos to stay, that I will not run away. And I'm sure if I had not stayed in Lagos, my principal today would probably not have found me out. One interesting thing about the man I am working with today is that the man never knew me from Adam before he gave me the appointment. And like I told other young youths, some youths that I met recently, I told them if it can happen to me, it can happen to any of them. My principal rekindled my faith in the fact that you can be something in this country without knowing anybody.
Yes.
I met my principal for the first time 2 weeks before the announcement of my appointment.
What?
Yeah, that was the first time I was meeting him in my life. 2 weeks before the announcement of my appointment. Now, when I was coming here too, I was reluctant because before now, I believe very strongly that you cannot do publicity, a PR job for somebody you know little or nothing about. No relationship,
that
nothing.
should be the best,
But my principal has changed my perception about that. When I came with the mindset of spending 3 months to decide whether I want to stay or not. But within 1 month of my stay here, my principal gave me enough reason to want to stay.
Good.
Several things happened that convinced me, but I'll just mention 3 of them that happened consecutively. One, the first statement I was going to issue after a series of debate with my principal, as I was making to leave his office, he said, CPS. I said, sir, meaning, don't lie about what we did not do. Say only those things we have done. Be sure of your facts. Don't say things that will embarrass us. You know, when I got to my office, I said, well, this man looks real. That was the first incident. The second incident had to do with one of his speeches. We had an event, and the ministry concerned had sent in a draft speech. So I was reviewing the speech with him, and we got to a stage. He said, no, this is not true. We have not done anything like this. CPS, remove this, remove this, remove this. These things are ordinarily other political leaders who want to be proud to go and read to the public. But for my principal, he said, no, these ones are not correct. Please remove them.
Wow.
The third incident that made me finally made up my mind to stay. We traveled together to Abuja. That was my first trip with him to Abuja. And after the day's job, he asked me if I had been given an accommodation. I told him no, but that I don't need one because my family is in Abuja. So that's good. In that case, don't be in a hurry to come out tomorrow. Spend time with your family. Take your time. Not many people at that level will bother about the family of their aides. Their own is do their job, they don't care. So those were the three incidents that happened consecutively that finally made me to say that I have come to stay, that this man is sincere. And so far, the things he's been doing, even people around the state and outside the state are wondering how he's been able to achieve the little he had achieved so far. For example, you know the story of our state before now. They will tell you about half salary. That is now history. It's not as if our monthly allocation has increased from federal allocation. As a matter of fact, we inherited a lot of debts, but in spite of that, we are still able to pay full salaries as and when due, and we are still doing, we are still attending to other governance businesses. All the projects we inherited, we have not abandoned any of them. We are working on them, and we are doing new ones. And incidentally, some of the things we are doing are things that touch the people directly. For example, there was a road we constructed in the state capital. The last time any government touched that road was when the state was still under the old Oyo State.
That was a long time ago.
There was long time ago. There's one again too in Ibajo. The road was constructed by Awolowo under the Western region. Then they say the military administrator touched it around 87. Since that 87, no government ever touched that road. We have started it. We are hoping to complete it before the end of this year. Again, a market was gutted by fire around 2015 in Atakumosa in the Ijesha area of the state. We have started constructing the market, and we hope to also complete that very soon. So we are doing a lot of them, and we are also diversifying the economy to help change the state narrative from being a civil service state. We have huge deposits of gold here.
Oh, wow.
And in the history of the state, the state had never made close to 10 million before from our mining. But under this administration, from one signature bonus, we made 100 million.
That is interesting, sir. Permit me to come in here. When you said you have gold, you know, that struck a chord in me. You know, Nigeria has always, Nigeria has always depended on oil.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and of course, the oil prices have been dropping.
Yep. Even got to
Because of course
minus. Even
COVID-19.
got to minus during the COVID. That's they
Yeah.
could pay you to give you oil.
Yes. I mean, so for any government to now begin to think about alternative sources of having revenue,
Yeah.
that is quite interesting. But Brian, I saw that you have been doing some reading. Do we have comments? Particularly, we have
Yes,
comments or
people.
questions from people of Osun State who
Well,
would like to take
just
even on.
comments like a lot of people are shouting out and great and sending their greetings to Ismail. We have Olatunji Ademola from Abuja. Shout out to you guys. Good evening from Sokoto. That is Olakunle Maruf. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. And Abiona Abidemi says, good evening. Well done. And may God strengthen you. And then OG Young T says, may God bless you, sir. And Popular Ido Abdul Hamid Monsumino. Wow. Says, may Almighty Allah bless you all. Mashallah. Thank you. So this is those.
Yeah, yes, guys, for all who have commented, we appreciate you. For people of Osun State watching anywhere in the world, please, this is the Chief Press Secretary of the Governor. He's the spokesman of the Governor. You can ask him any questions. He has made mentions of some projects. Please, you can also ask him for those about those projects and other ways that you think that the government can be moved forward. He's a journalist. He's used to taking questions and asking people questions. So I'm sure he's not going to fritter from there. Brian, this is your tough. I know you've been looking to talk with politicians.
Yes, sir.
Although he is a journalist, but I know he has politics of journalism too.
He's a hybrid, yeah.
Yeah, he was. Luca, when Luca was here, they ran Ismail and Luca. They contested for the position of the correspondent chapel. Okay. In Kaduna, I think twice or thereabouts.
Once I lost by one vote. Then we contested. Then we did chairmanship together again.
Yes.
Mashallah.
Yes. Yeah. Mashallah. Yes. He lost by one vote. And sir, can I tell you something? Where that vote came from? That day we went to Nan. There's one girl, Nan from Tina.
Oh yeah.
Tina was the last person to come and cast.
She was the last person that came to vote. I remember.
Yes. I think it was Tina's vote that changed that election. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
so Brian.
Yeah, right.
These are the politicians of Nigeria now. Yeah. We would not take him to be one of us now. So we'll ask him questions.
Yeah. So I mean, from your wonderful story, your love of literature, love of English, it looks like you've always wanted to serve, and you ended up still being a soldier, but you're using language as your arsenal. So if you had probably gone into the military, they will have their arsenal at their bases, but you have yours that is God-given, and that's what really makes you human, that language that you can use. So you seem to be some kind of a soldier. So, but now the thing is, as a journalist, most journalists you take as a creed to like expose the truth, and it's mostly about showing what is wrong, right? Mostly, I mean, there's a right part of it, but to be very realistic, showing what is wrong, where you can only show what is wrong because you know what is right. So now, and you as someone that you realize to do something, you have to do it yourself. Your whole journey is a journey of like trying to sculpt your own future and present. So you as a journalist who constantly sees what is wrong and perhaps participates in one part of it by disseminating information, how do you feel when you see these things? How does that affect you politically? Like as you are at the forefront seeing these things and talking about them, how does it affect you in terms of like what you can do with politics, so that we as humans and youths of today, or all of us as citizens, who can advance our countries?
Thank you very much. The one look I have, which very, very sincere. I can beat my chest to see this anywhere, anytime. But for his sincerity of purpose, I probably would have left this place after the first 3 months. But I saw in him as a sincere person, and so he made my job a lot easier.
Okay.
Because once we see things that are not going on well, we discuss with him. The next thing is fixing it. The next thing is fixing it. And if you have contact of colleagues around here, if you ask them, they will tell you clearly that this man, it's a different kind of leader, you know. And I, as a professional, I don't engage in unnecessary controversy with my colleagues.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, I encourage them to criticize what we do, but they should do it constructively. I'm available to dish out information to them anytime they need one. And I also make effort to correct misinformation. In fact, you will never see me abusing journalists for doing their job. Instead, I will engage them and explain that, oh, no, this is what happened. Why don't you find out this? Why don't you find out that? And so far, we are doing a great job to help our youth grow. For example, we are working on training the artisanal miners so that they can be useful in the bigger mining sector, because we are already sanitizing the mining sector so that in the end, our state will be more like a reference point as far as mining is concerned in the country. So we are getting our youths involved in that so they can become major players in that sector. The agric also is there, where we encourage our youths to go into agriculture, ditto tourism, because by our plan, we are planning to use agriculture, tourism, and mining to change the narrative of the state of Osun. And with our investment in those sectors so far, I believe that we'll tell a better story tomorrow.
Yes, sir. When you talk about investment, I mean, you said you are encouraging, you are training these children, these young people to get into this sector so that they can boost the economy of the state. But I'd like to know, what precisely are you doing? You know, when you say you're encouraging them, are you providing fertilizer? Are you providing free tract? Are you providing loans, tractors, seedlings?
Yeah, in conjunction with the federal government for agri, there are a series of packages for the agri in terms of loan. You know, we are doing that. We also stand like a surety for them, you know, so as to ensure that they get what, you know, is required to do their farming, you know, businesses. For the mining, for example, you know, artisanal miners, they are unskilled, and so we want them trained so as to be armed with the real skill, so that by the time the major players come into the sector, they are not left unemployed. So we want them to acquire the basic skills that will make them relevant, even when we have the major players, you know, in the sector. And this we are doing through the Presidential Artisanal Mining Initiative, PAGME.
Yes, so I also like to know, I'm just impressed, happy that, in another state of Nigeria, there is gold. Now, has there been an estimation of, in commercial terms, how much worth of gold is there lying down there under Osun? And what do we hope to turn it into in terms of money?
Yes, we have done that. As a matter of fact, when we had our, we were 29 about 2, 3 weeks ago, and so as part of the new normal, we had a virtual lecture to commemorate the 29th anniversary of the state.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you very much. And one of our panelists who did a study on his own on the mineral deposits, especially gold in the state. One of the allusions he made was that if the state had managed the mining sector very well, that most of the money being frittered away because of the unorganized way the mining is going on, that it would have been enough, according to him, to pay our debts that we are currently owing. So I would believe very strongly that as a government, once we do the needful in that sector, we'll change the fortune of the state. We are hoping to build a gold trading center in the state that will serve the Southwest. It's going to be located in Bangan. Bangan is like a central location for the Southwestern states. We are hoping and planning to build a good trading center there. And for security, Bangan is where we have the base of our Amotekun and JTF. So in terms of security, we are prepared. As a matter of fact, before Amotekun was birthed, we had our own local arrangement to beef up our own security precisely because of the gold mining business that we were planning to reorganize. So we're at the stage of completing our own process when the regional Amotekun came up, and we just, keyed into it.
Nice, interesting, Brian.
Yeah. So, and then now, with your experience at the forefront and looking at the current affairs, the world is becoming global. We can borrow information and share information very easily. Let's say if you want to do the mining that you just spoke about, it's easy to reach out to miners in China, or maybe to look at, you could pay for it or it could be free, but somehow with the internet or the modern tools that we have today, with the modern tools today, you can easily see how mining is done in China and then do it in where you want to do it in Nigeria. But the people that will actually lead this are the youths of today. You see, so and then we don't have that culture of participating in nation building by let's look at the local councils. Most youths who develop their churches, like go to church, clean it, join a group in church, but they can't do the same activities at the level of the local council. You rarely see them participating, maybe as jurors in judging cases. I don't know if that system is in place. So what do you think youths of today should do, and even the generations of leaders we have today, so that they can hand over power to the youths, but the youths can also have the knowledge base and tools to bring about the development that we want to see?
Well, first, as a young man,
Yes.
I would encourage our young men and women to acquire education.
Okay.
Because without education, you can't compete favorably with your peers.
Okay.
That is one. Two, we have consistently blamed our leaders for some of our failures, for some of our failings. We must organize in such a way that those things that we have seen that the leaders are doing that are bad, we don't continue with them. For example, for every opportunity I have, I always say this. I'm a Nigerian, so I will speak from that perspective. As a young man or as a youth, we must stop this idea of looking at issues either from religious perspective, tribal perspective, or ethnic perspective. Because unless and until we shun all those sentiments, we are not likely to make any headway. We must also learn to collaborate and cooperate among ourselves. For example, if a young man of say 35 wants to aspire to become a council chairman, as youths, we should rather come together to support the aspiration of such a young man rather than go and collaborate with a 70-year-old man to come and compete for the same council position with the youth.
Okay.
But as a youth, for you to get the support of your fellow youths, you must be above board. Well, the challenge most times is that the young man probably that is aspiring to take over leadership from the old man may probably have a very bad record. I give an example quickly. You know, every politics they say is local. I was born in Benue State, and so I'm familiar with the politics of the place. When David Mark lost his election through the courts, and there was to be a rerun. And the young man who was contesting against David Mark is somebody we know very well. And I remember in one of my posts on Facebook, I said it clearly that I support change of leadership. I support the aspiration of youth to take over leadership. But then, if we must retire David Mark at that point in time, the young man that is being projected does not have the qualities that will make him represent us very well. Because the danger is if you push the wrong foot forward, the tendency is for the elders not to give another young man another chance tomorrow, because they will use what the other one may have done to conclude that you are not likely to do better. So if we get the best amongst us and push forward, once he performs well, he would have opened the gateway for us, and we also will be using him as an example to justify whatever case we are making.
Mashallah, I see what you mean. So almost like if Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and people like that, if they went and flopped, if they went, they didn't have support. If they went as the minority and they flopped, then they would say that all black people are worthless. In this case, if it's a youth, they will say all youths are worthless. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Exactly. That is the challenge. So we must always put our best foot forward, so that when next we bring up another one, we can say, oh, look at the one we gave you. He's doing well, so we believe that this one too. So gradually we take over.
Mashallah, I see. Oh wow,
I like to ask and bring us back to our traditional cultural heritage. At the beginning of this show, we did talk about Brian has a lot of interest on Yoruba cosmology, and we hear that Osun State is the seat of Yoruba culture. Although that is very difficult for me to understand or to take, because I've always thought that Oyo is the seat of the Oduduwa Kingdom.
Oduduwa descended from Ile-Ife.
All right.
You know, we are it's there. We are actually the headquarters of the Yoruba nation, and what we are planning to do with our tourism and culture is that we want the Yorubas all over the world to connect with the states. Just about 2 weeks ago or so, we had some private investors showing interest in helping to develop, our tourism sector. The team was led by the owner of La Campagne, in Lagos. I wish I can show you the picture of Owala Dam. You would think it's
is it
place in
online?
Dubai.
Can we Google it?
Yeah, you Google it, you see it. I will share it with you. So we are trying to develop, those.
So if you share with us now, if you share with us now, we'll Google it and pull it out for viewers watching all over the world.
Yeah, I will try and look for it
Yorubas
immediately.
in Brazil. There are a lot of Yorubas in
Exactly.
America,
That's what we are planning.
Jamaica too. Yorubas in Jamaica.
Probably. Planning. Yes. That's what we are planning to do. Actually, we want to develop that sector so that even in terms of what they call cultural pilgrimage, if you visit the Osun Osogbo Grove, but for the COVID, every year when we are celebrating the Osun Osogbo, we have worshippers and others from all over the world, including the whites. So we have a master plan to develop our tourism sector. We are hoping to launch our first 3 products to mark this year's World Tourism Day. With COVID, most Nigerians can no longer travel the way they were used to doing. So what we are planning to do is to say that, look, those things you spend money to go and look at abroad, you can come to Osun, to spend the money and you get the same satisfaction. And that's exactly what we are doing with it. There's a place here called Okay Maria. The Catholics, convert there almost, every year. They convert there every year for I'm linking. Okay, I will send the photograph to your WhatsApp now.
If you send them, we can put them up. So
I've asked one of my colleagues to get me the link. It was during the recent visit that the photographs were taken.
Okay.
And even when I saw it, I was wowed. I was like, the lady there is the ambassador, that came with the cultural ambassador that came with the team. When I saw this picture was taken at Owala Dam.
Just a minute. This picture look too real to be in Nigeria. I'm coming. Okay, you have to do some
Yeah,
explaining here.
you, you know, I said so before I said so before I uploaded it. You know,
Yes.
I will get you the exact date they visited. You know, I said it before I uploaded it. They
Yes.
visited, I think, about
Yeah, Brian, you have the pictures now.
Okay.
about 2 or 3 weeks
What's
ago.
up?
That was when they visited us.
All right.
Let me check.
I mean, this is
They
tourism,
visited us
right?
about 2 or 3
Anything
weeks
that
ago.
we can show the
Yeah,
world on Osun State. Okay, if you have the time, I would like it to be pulled out and put so people can see from all over the world.
yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I'll put it on my system.
Keep going, sir. So, Brian, you have these
You
pictures?
know, so
Yeah, I'm about to get it.
you know, and beside that, just about a week ago, not up to a week, about 4 or 5 days ago, we also flagged up an ethanol refinery
Oh
here
wow.
in the state.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It will take like 24 months to start operation. And once they start operation, we are hoping that it will generate over 10,000 employment. In another 2 days, we'll be flagging off the Dagbolu Trade Center. We are trying to fashion it after international trade centers
Okay.
that will look like a one-stop, shop for uh, any kind of business you want to do. There's also a dry port there, so that instead of going to Lagos, we'll also be helping to decongest the ports, in Lagos. Before now, the old Osun was a commercial hub center for the Southwest. And what we are planning to do with our economic plan is to rekindle that good story. Our plan is to make Osun the commercial hub center for the Southwest. I know Rome was not built in a day. With what we are putting in less than 2 years, I'm very sure that before we leave, we would have done tremendously well in ensuring that we change the narrative of the state.
Mashallah.
That's interesting. Brian, we have questions?
I'm looking at the picture actually. So
Okay. Yeah, put out the picture.
You,
So
you, you won't believe you won't believe it's in Osun.
yeah, it's beautiful.
it's actually
Okay, yeah, let me
unbelievable
put
to be.
that. Yeah, it's can you see? I
Yeah,
shared it.
not yet.
Okay, let me share it here.
Yeah, share it. Not yet.
Yes, here.
So, sir, tell us about this picture that we are seeing. This picture looks okay. Okay, this picture.
You think you are in Dubai.
Yeah, I would think
Yes,
you are in
this
the
is
Bahamas.
yeah. This picture was taken at Owala Dam. It was taken about I think 2 weeks ago.
And this
3 weeks
and here's another one.
ago. Yes,
Yes,
this
sir. I
picture was
just want to
taken
know.
about 3
There's
weeks
a lady
ago
standing
when
in this
the
picture. Who
team.
is the lady? And what is happening around this dam? What is happening? I see a lot of green grass. What is happening? What is the government doing with this? Is this some form of tourism places or what?
I think the internet.
Network is jealous again.
Yeah. Like, wow, it looks beautiful.
It
These
looks
and
really good, man.
these are places where like abroad, abroad these places are made. Like they'll come and make a lake here and then plant grass here in order to make it look like this. But here it's just there free of charge.
It's free of
Yeah,
charge.
like in my city, in my school, there's an artificial lake the lake was actually made, and people do fishing. It's very natural now, but it was made. You see that,
Whoa.
and that's what happens. People just buy land because they know that as part of a development process. What do they want? Do they want a lake? What would they get from it? Fishing, things like that. They put that there to create their societies and cities. Here we have it already. We just need to develop. We just need to take it from there
Yeah.
and keep developing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We can hear you.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Go ahead, sir. Go and hear you.
Yeah, as the African Union and consultant to the partnering banks,
Mm-hmm.
Otumba Olanwale Akimboboye, visited the state, uh, and they came to inspect our tourist sites with a view to exploring possibility of immediate investment in the sector.
Okay.
Hmm.
And when the leader of the delegation was speaking during the courtesy visit, he said that the choice of Osun was based on its rich culture, attractive tourist sites, and a business-like presentation by the state through its Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Dr. Adebisi Obawale, when he visited Lakampai, in Lagos. So, and Mr. Governor has told them that he is going to provide the enabling environment for their business, to thrive. And like the leader of the delegation said, he said in his 37 years of being in the tourism sector that he has never seen a business, the commitment, a business-like commitment,
Mm-hmm.
which the governor displayed, that he has never seen that level of commitment before,
Mashallah.
because the governor told him that he was ready to drive, the project and ensure it was. In fact, before the COVID-19 pandemic came up, we had we had an investment and economic summit where we agreed that look, the best way to change the narrative of our state
Yeah.
was to diversify our economy. We didn't even know that COVID-19 was coming when we took that decision.
Yeah. Right.
And so we are making conscious effort.
Yeah.
We are making conscious effort to concentrate on mining, culture and tourism, and agriculture
Yeah.
to help change the narrative of the state. And we believe that, this time, we'll begin to see the fruits of our investment in those sectors.
Yeah. Mashallah. That's amazing, and we actually need that because we as Africans all over the world, the respect is proportional to how developed our homelands are, or let's say our homeland is. Because if, for example, an American is in Nigeria or somewhere in Africa, the respect they get, it's yes, there's a human aspect. They have their dignity, which is natural, but they get a lot of extra respect for their country, and that's because of like the developments that have gone through that. So you can't really you can't cheat against an American easily because just the name of the country backs them up. So we abroad, like if we also want to have backing and be respected and maybe reduce things like racism and the rest, the fight also belongs to us. If we can develop the homeland like that, like the works you guys are doing, that gives
Yeah.
continent as a whole to some kind of foundation upon which you can stand and talk.
Yes, that's true, Brian. And we can only achieve these things, by developing ourselves,
Yeah,
especially our cultural heritage.
yeah,
And so I want to ask if there is anybody in America or people talk, because the international airport has opened, economies are beginning to open up. The COVID-19 is beginning to, I mean, it's being driven out. Even no matter how the slow pace is, I mean, we're doing the whole world altogether is doing well. Um, if people are looking for tourism in Osun State, what are those tourisms? What are the times of the year? You know, can people look to come to Osun State for this tourism?
Surprisingly, from what the experts told us, it's an all-year-round thing because, for example, we have the Erinjesha waterfall, we have the Anyokulumba waterfall. Like the Erinjesha waterfall, I taking my kids there about I think 3 years ago when I didn't even know that I'll be coming to live in the state. And when I got there, the first thing that came to my mind was like, wow, I mean, these are fresh water, natural water, falling. And I think the Erinjesha had about, is it 13, 13 steps or so? 17, 7 steps, and usually it's usually very difficult to get to the topmost, of the sites. And part of the thing we are planning is to do is it electric boat they call it? I can't remember the name immediately now, but that will help ferry you to the topmost.
Okay.
That will help ferry you to the topmost, of the hill. Then the leader of the delegation also told us that for the Walla Dam, there is this. I'm not an expert there. I don't know how you call it. Where something that will take you to the dam part of the river.
Is it a crane? Something like a crane?
Yeah, and still bring you up.
Okay.
Things like that. And with the things the delegation told us, I'm sure by the time we are done with our packages, people will be coming in to spend their vacation here in our state, and which will help to revive our economy and also put our state on the world map.
Good. Brian, I think I have exhausted my questions.
That's that, and I mean we can round up. For me, I've learned a lot for the whole conversation, and it also helps me see the work that government is doing right, because a lot of people are complaining today, and it's also good that we see the efforts that are being applied to take us to where we want to go. So I'm really honored to chat with Ismail to learn more about what they're doing. And
Thank you
Ishmael,
very much, Brian.
yeah, and please consider this too to be like one out of countless number of episodes that we would have. If you have something to say to, it could be some kind of deliberation or some work of art or essay or anything that you have worked on that you feel like you need a whiteboard or you need someone to deliberate on it with. You feel free to come here and we can talk about it. It could be a book.
I will. I'm working on a book.
Okay, great.
I'm sure by the time I'm done with it, because there's a lot of misconceptions about Boko Haram.
Yes. Okay.
At the risk of sounding immodest,
yeah,
I was in Maiduguri when the group started. I saw it all, and I think I know. Even Isaac had challenged me before too, that people like us should write a book on the.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, our experiences on Boko Haram. I think by the time I'm done, I will surely share some of those things with you. It's a promise, I promise.
Yes, we are very happy, sir, to share this your book here. We've launched how many books now? This will be the third or the fourth book that somebody notarized, and he comes here and we basically
I will do that.
We will talk about it. And also, if the government, Osun State government, has new programs it wants to roll out, we are here. We have a lot of viewership. You can come here and share it. And just to say here in conclusion, sir, that if you have anything that you want to say all this while that we didn't get to ask you and you want to share as a parting note, this is the time you can do that, sir.
Okay, the only thing I want to say, I want to direct this specifically to Nigerian youths and also to our people in the state and the diaspora.
Okay.
That first, as youth, we must imbibe the Omoluabi ethos that Osun is known for. Omoluabi simply means being virtuous. We must imbibe, those ethos, and we must learn how to be patient with our leaders.
Okay.
And that as youths, we must imbibe the right attitude that will take us to where we never imagined we'll ever be. Like I tell people, I am a product of relationship. I value relationships, and I do everything within my power to retain one. Uh, for my people in the state of Osun and beyond, I want to crave your indulgence to give our governor, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, a chance to prove to you that his leadership is different from any other kind of political leadership you've been used to in the past. Thank you very much.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Mashallah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like we said, we hope to chat again, and that time I'll have many other questions for you.
I will.
Yeah.
Please help me give Isaac your number. I want
Okay.
to be in touch
Yeah,
with you.
mashallah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Isaac, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. The
Thank
Lord
you
will
very
honor
much,
and
sir.
bless you.
Thank you very much. God bless you too. Yes.
And